I recently had the pleasure of sitting down and having a nice long conversation with Brian Sanders, the producer of the movie Food Lies, which comes out soon. He also owns nosetotell.org, which is an awesome website for getting nose to tail meats. He's also the creator of the Sapien diet. In today's video, Brian's going to talk about how many meals per day he eats, the most important foods to eat for healing, and the importance of sunshine and vitamin D. Curious from your experience and opinion, what would you say are some of the most important animal foods to try to incorporate on a weekly or daily basis?
Yeah, I think there's three. The three main ones are just the organ meats, and those could be weird for people, and not everyone likes them, and so you can hide them. There's a way you can get raw liver, you can freeze it and cut it up a little bit, and you can just like swallow it. Sometimes I'll even put it in bone broth. After a meal, I'll drink some bone broth, and you can just float little piece of liver in it, and you just kind of suck it down.
Mm-hmm.
So organ meats are huge, number one, huge. And then I think the seafoods, just like these nutrient dense seafood things, like I go to this Japanese store pretty often and just get these interesting seafoods. I mean, there's fish eggs, there's oysters. I get these raw oysters that come in this little jar that are on ice, and you're getting so many different nutrients there. And a lot of people, yeah, these Michaela Peterson types, I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of debates with Dr. Sean Baker, and he's, even we did one with Mark Sisson and Paul Saladino, and we did the whole thing
Yeah, just
about.
got done talking to Paul about an hour ago.
Yep. That's great. Yeah. Well, he came up to LA, and we did this thing with us four in a studio, and you can find that on YouTube. But it was like one of the topics was, do you need to eat nose to tail? And Sean Baker's just like, hey, I don't think they taste good. I've never liked it. I don't think our ancestors like it. That I don't know. He's just making, conjecture that maybe if normal people nowadays don't like them, that maybe we always didn't like them. And it's kind of the same argument he makes against like kale and broccoli. It's like they don't taste good. Maybe they're not necessary. But I think it's how you're raised. And that I have, a friend that's from Russia, or his family's from Russia, and he loves it. His favorite, that he just loves to eat liver. So I think it's really contextual like that. So but the same thing with the seafood. Get these oysters, get the fish eggs. The fish eggs have tons of bioavailable DHA. It's like the best way to get DHA, I believe. And even some seaweeds. Maybe I grew up in Hawaii, so I'm used to sort of these different Asian foods, and I think seaweed has some good things in it, right? Some iodine and some other things. So I just think it's to get this whole spectrum of nutrients is better in the long term. Everything we do is kind of based on your current theories, right? And what you think is best at the moment. And, that's probably going to change. But one of my current theories, I'm almost like hedging my bets, right? Where I do want a little bit of plant foods. I do want that vitamin C. I do want maybe a tiny bit of fiber. I don't think fiber is necessary exactly, but it's like, oh, maybe there is something to it, or maybe some some soluble fiber there could be something there. So I like to hedge my bets that I'd like to get this full nutrient thing. But many people, like Paul does it sometimes, or the nose, just like the muscle meat guys like Sean Baker will just be like, hey, I'm feeling great and I don't need it. And maybe we have things wrong about vitamin C, or you don't need this much calcium or selenium or magnesium or potassium or all these things. So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. I think that, when it gets down to the micro and macronutrients from a scientific data standpoint and an ancestral historical standpoint, I think that it can be very confusing for people. It can be challenging to wrap your brain around who's right and who's wrong, and the whole debate. And I don't think that we necessarily need to do that. I think it's listen to different perspectives and be your own person. Try things out, see what feels right for you. And also maybe someone who has the perspective of Dr. Sean Baker, who I've, had the chance to really talk shop with a lot too. He's doing what works best for him in a sustainable way. So I think what he's saying is like, I'm never going to eat broccoli on a regular basis, nor am I going to eat liver. So I'm not going to promote it, nor am I going to worry about it. I'm going to do what I can sustain. And I think there's some awesomeness within that. For me personally, I just feel better, and I find it much easier to sustain super clean eating when I have a little bit of options and when there's a little bit of different texture and mouthfeel. And I don't know anything. All I know is the data my body provides for me through experimentation. And what I found is that a mostly bioavailable diet works the best for me. There are some carbohydrates that work really good too. There are some plant foods that work really good too. So for me, it's just a lot easier and a lot more fun to pick and choose from all the things I know work, with some ideas of, okay, I know that about most of my calories and most of my micro and macronutrients are coming from animals. And that's kind of the basis. And then the rest is kind of, what am I feeling like? What's available? You know, when I'm in California, when I'm in San Diego, when my friends go out and catch wild fish and bring them back and we eat them raw and eat it, you know, on a barbecue that day, I'm going to eat a lot of fish. And when I'm in the Midwest and I can get my hands on amazing steaks and filet mignon and wonderful, wonderful beef, I'm going to eat a lot of beef. So I kind of let where I'm at dictate, and I like to have some differentiation in my palate. But I fully agree with you. I think that there is nuance to this whole thing, and there's a lot of different kind of ways to peel the onion, if you will.
Yeah, well, humans are super opportunistic. You know, that's what we did. We exploited the environment for what it had, and it was varying. And I think maybe that would be my criticism of a Sean Baker type diet, is it doesn't vary enough, because we don't know exactly what we ate for all of history, but we know it's not the same thing every day.
If you guys are enjoying this content, remember to subscribe, remember to share, leave all of your comments and questions down below, hit the notification bell. Also, remember, if you're trying to get in touch or find out more about Brian Sanders and his work, there will be links in the description box for his websites. He's got a great Instagram, Food Lies, and great dude, great resource. Check his stuff out.
So I actually get sun. I go out in the sun, I think is important. I go out and lay out wherever you can and read a book, listen to a book, listen to a podcast, take a phone call. I'm up to 20 minutes per side. You know, I do my front and then back, so 40 minutes total. I mean, people might start it lower than that. You don't want to burn. And I think vitamin D is huge. You know, we are Homo sapiens. We are people who roam the earth, and we were outside and we were not in offices. So the sun is huge. And then I do lunch. I do a big meal. I have this theory that humans want to eat till they're full. Like these whole thing, like, oh, let's calorie count, let's restrict our portions, let's have like 5 small meals. I don't like that. Like, I think we want to eat until we are full. And the best way that I found is doing 2 meals a day, because I think 1 meal a day is great for some people, but maybe that's too much food at once. And 3 meals, I think, is too many meals, because it's kind of hard unless you're a very active person. You're probably going to get too many calories if you eat to satiety 3 times.